What if I told you the Daleks didn't become terrifying in the 1960s? They became terrifying in the 1980s. Not because they shouted louder, not because they looked scarier, but because for the first time, Doctor Who stopped treating them like monsters and started treating them like fascists. In the era of body counts, moral compromise, and urban warfare, the Daleks weren't invading planets anymore. They were infiltrating cities, corrupting systems, turning ideology into extermination. And worst of all, the Doctor began to think like them. Tonight, we're diving into the unofficial 1980s Dalek Trilogy. Resurrection of the Daleks, Revelation of the Daleks, and Remembrance of the Daleks. 3 stories, 3 Doctors, 1 escalating war. I'm Craven Van Candy. Like and subscribe, and drop us a line, and turn on those notifications. Because tonight, we're going to go into the unofficial and unhinged 1980s Dalek Trilogy. Because you see, in the 1980s, during the later years of Doctor Who, something changed. The whimsy began to drain away, the bright optimism dimmed, and the universe started to feel, well, hostile. Under producer John Nathan Turner, the show didn't just modernize its aesthetic, it hardened its worldview. This was the Cold War decade, a decade of nuclear anxiety, of ideological division, a distrust in institutions. And into that world stepped the Daleks. Not the colorful pepper pots of the 60s. These weren't even the philosophical fascists of Genesis of the Daleks. No, these Daleks were military occupiers, corporate executioners, and ideological extremists tearing themselves apart in civil war. And at the center of it all, Daleks. He wasn't just a mad scientist anymore. He was a prophet of genocide, a bureaucrat of death, a fascist visionary who no longer needed to shout, because his systems were already in place. And across 3 stories, released over 4 brutal years, we watch the 5th Doctor, Peter Davison, lose his innocence. The 6th Doctor, Colin Baker, navigates a universe where death is a commodity. And the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, he becomes something far more dangerous than his enemies. This isn't just a Dalek retrospective. It's a study of escalation, because by the end of this trilogy, the Daleks haven't just evolved. The Doctor has. And once you see him manipulate events, once you watch Ace beat a Dalek into a smoking scrap piece of metal, once you realize Skaro burns not in tragedy, but calculation, you begin to wonder, did the Daleks change in the 80s, or did the Doctor? Well, that's the million-dollar question, submitted for extermination. To begin our look into this infamous, unofficial trilogy, we begin at number 1, the resurrection of the Daleks. The 5th Doctor's era, Peter Davison. In the middle of the John Nathan Turner production years of Doctor Who, Resurrection of the Daleks detonates like a live grenade. It's written by Eric Sword. This isn't adventure science fiction. It's grim, cynical, convoluted, yet brilliant. A war drama wearing Doctor Who's skin. And it may be the most nihilistic Dalek story ever to broadcast on BBC. The premise: a city under occupation. Set in contemporary London, the story drops us into time corridors tearing through space, Dalek troopers embedded in human forces, military units unsure who to trust, and a city that doesn't even realize it's already been compromised. This is infiltration and rot. The Daleks are not loud conquerors here. They're patient, methodical, terrifyingly efficient. They use humans as pawns, double agents, test subjects, disposable pieces in a larger campaign to recover their creator. And that creator is waiting in suspended animation. Yes, the Daleks have weaponized time travel with the time corridor as they hatch a plan to free their evil master from the cryo chamber. But why now, you ask? Well, simple. The Daleks are dying. Their arch-nemesis, the Movellans, have stricken them with a virus. There's no cure. The only one who may hold the key to curing the Dalek race is their creator. But little does Davros know he's being used himself as a pawn in a game that the Daleks have devised. Davros's philosophies have outlived him. That's Tahara. His creation, if cured, will become a self-sustaining scourge of fascism, terrorizing the universe. The Doctor is also a pawn in this evil game, as the Daleks want to trap him on the space station, where their futuristic technology can clone him into homicidal minions that will go to Gallifrey and assassinate the High Council of Time Lords. This is where we see the seeds planted as we get our first taste of what possibly could have ignited the legendary Time War. The Fifth Doctor, a hero out of step with his era. Peter Davison, the Fifth Doctor, is fundamentally compassionate. He believes in mercy and restraint, but the story punishes him for it. Throughout the serial, he hesitates, he pleads, he attempts to reason with mercenaries and traitors. But this is not a story that rewards moral purity. In one of Peter Davison's most iconic moments, he tells everyone he's going to kill Davros. The tension is thick as he confronts Davros once and for all, aiming a gun directly at his arch-nemesis. He tells Davros, "I'm not here as your prisoner. I'm here as your executioner." But the Doctor's true nature comes center stage as he just can't bring himself to squeeze the trigger. The weight of cold-blooded assassination, even justified assassination, is too much. He lowers the gun, and Davros escapes death once again. Or does he? Because you see, there's a civil war erupting between Daleks, who believe they're superior to everything and everyone, including their own creator, and they want to kill Davros. And then there's the pro-Davros Daleks. Yes, it's a little complicated. That's what the story excels in: complication, chaos, and calamity. You see, resurrection of the Daleks is infamous for one thing. People die, and they die a lot. Not dramatically, not heroically, just suddenly. Soldiers gunned down mid-conversation. Agents executed once they're no longer useful. Civilians caught in crossfire. Characters introduced only to be killed minutes later. And the violence isn't stylized. It's abrupt and almost indifferent. This is not kids hiding behind the sofa type drama. This is war is pointless, and everyone loses. And you see, that tonal shift matters. Every Doctor has that one companion they associate with. For Peter Davison, It's the great and beautiful Janet Fielding as Tegan Javanka, the airline stewardess from Heathrow Airport in Australia. She had seen the evil master murder and then terrorize members of her family. She'd seen another companion, Adric, die as a result of the Cybermen. And she was even possessed and used by the hideous Mara. This is where she drew the line. This would be her final adventure with the Doctor. This is an emotional gut punch. After witnessing death after death, after seeing how ugly the universe has become, Tegan makes a decision. She doesn't die. She doesn't get trapped, possessed, or anything else. She doesn't even sacrifice herself. She just walks away. It stopped being fun. That line is seismic. For decades, traveling with the Doctor meant wonder, adventure, escapism. Now, it's trauma. Tegan's departure reframes the entire 1980s tone. Doctor Who isn't a fun romp anymore. It's survival horror. Now, why this resurrection of the Daleks divide fans? Well, it's quite simple. Some see it as overly violent, cynical, stripped of charm, while others see it as bold, mature, and necessary tonal evolution. But one thing is undeniable, is its honesty about the cost of conflict, its brutality, and it was way ahead of its time. Legacy. Without resurrection of the Daleks, the darker Sixth Doctor era doesn't fully land. Revelation of the Daleks doesn't feel like escalation. The Seventh Doctor's manipulative war strategist persona lacks context. The Time War in New Who lacks precedent. This is where the Daleks stop being pantomime monsters, and they slowly become ideological weapons. Final thoughts on resurrection of the Daleks. Well, there's no soaring triumph at the end. There's no grand speech. Just exhaustion. The Fifth Doctor leaves battered. Tegan leaves broken. And London returns to normal, unaware how close it came to annihilation. And as for the Daleks, well, they're still out there, waiting. Stay tuned for part 2, where I take a deep dive, a deconstructive look at revelation of the Daleks, the Sixth Doctor's era, Colin Baker. I'm Craven Van Candy. Thank you for joining me for this part 1 of the unofficial Daleks 1980s trilogy. And until next time, wherever you may be, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good riddance.